Θεωρείται ένας από τους σημαντικότερους εν ζωή φωτορεπόρτερ στον κόσμο. Στα 91 του χρόνια, ο Σερ Ντόναλντ ΜακΚάλιν έχει καταγράψει με το φακό του κάθε έκφανση της ανθρώπινης φύσης. Ταξιδεύοντας από το Βιετνάμ και την Καμπότζη μέχρι το Σουδάν και την Μπιάφρα, αποτύπωσε με έναν απόλυτα προσωπικό τρόπο τη φρίκη του πολέμου, την ακραία βία και φτώχεια, μα και την καθηλωτική ομορφιά της φύσης και της αρχιτεκτονικής. Τον συναντήσαμε στην Τεχνόπολη Αθηνών. Εκεί φιλοξενήθηκε η έκθεσή του Life, Death and Everything in Between, στο περιθώριο του 8ου Διεθνούς Φεστιβάλ Φωτορεπορτάζ της Αθήνας. Απόλυτα σεμνός, με χιούμορ και τη συνειδητοποίηση κάποιου που έχει αντικρίσει την πιο τρομακτική πλευρά του ανθρώπου, μίλησε στο Φάσμα για τη διαδρομή του από τα φτωχικά προάστια του Λονδίνου στα πεδία των σκληρότερων πολέμων, τα ηθικά διλήμματα που συνάντησε, αλλά και την αξία της φωτογραφίας ως ιστορικό τεκμήριο και παράγοντα πολιτικής συνείδησης.
I saw this one as well. Now, I don't know why, but I mean, I saw this handsome man, and everyone is not afraid looking. They must have known they were going to be murdered. Yeah. I'm not sure I would have their courage and dignity.
Which are your thoughts when you were?
I've been covering the Middle East for the last 50-something years. I've been all over those Middle East countries. I was in the war in Iraq and Syria, and it's not unexpected, really. I mean, you can't, I don't go along with wars. I don't believe they should be, you know, take place. It's always the innocent people in those wars who get killed first. And then today, for instance, I think there have been quite a few young women killed in a school in Iran. They're innocent people. They shouldn't be bombed and killed. I want to be their voice. I think I've totally failed, because that's why there's another war today. I know I failed.
How did you start your career?
I didn't plan on my career. I grew up with this bunch of boys behind me, and I went into the Air Force to do 2 years, and I thought I chose to go into the Air Force because I didn't want to be in the army, running around with guns. I didn't want that. I went into the Air Force. They sent me to Egypt, to the Sudan. They sent me down to Nairobi. I wound up in Yemen, which is where the Houthis live, and then I wound up in Cyprus. And I worked on a photographic unit in Africa to start with. I tried to become a photographer in the Air Force, but they failed me, or I failed myself, really, because I couldn't read very well when I was a young man. I came from a background of no education. I came from a background of these people who really wanted to be criminals, but I didn't. I never wanted to be incarcerated in a prison, throw my life away with stupidity. I wanted to be different from these boys I grew up with. And so when I came out of the Air Force, I had a camera, and I started photographing these boys. And one of the English newspapers published these pictures because these boys were involved in the murder of a policeman at the end of my road in London.
How could you go from covering poverty and war and suffering to nature and archaeological sites?
Easily, without being contemptuous. My eyes are my road to travel. My eyes, I inherited these eyes from I don't know where, but then my eyes, and then my fear of ignorance because of my background, no education. I've been working it all out, and I finally made it come true, you know. I mean, these pictures on the wall here, they haven't got here by accident. They've got there by my imagination, my creativity, and the quickness and the way I interpret things. By the way, I'm not an artist. People try to associate me with art. Some of the pictures downstairs, you will see right away, have no association with the art world. They're about death and dying and people who've been unfortunate in their lives. But I understand poverty. I understand violence. I understand all the kind of things that some psychiatrists would give a fortune to have a half an hour talk with me. I've been there, and but I'm not trying to sound pompous and big-headed, but I understand this world we live in.
Which is the assignment that has stayed with you in your mind, that has stuck with you?
The photos downstairs of the war in Vietnam. I went to Vietnam for 10 years, coming in and out, coming in and out. And then I got there one day and I got involved in the biggest battle of the war. And I go to bed every night of my life thinking about it, and it took place 50 years ago.
Is there any smell that stayed with you as well?
Blood does smell. You know, we talked about earlier in Cyprus. I walked into a room in Cyprus. I knocked on the door. I heard no answer. This was in a Turkish village. And I opened the door, and there were two dead brothers. The room was completely, the floor was a river of blood. And I will never forget the smell of blood. It has a slightly acid smell, acid taste in the mouth. So there's nothing about war I haven't seen or felt or understood, apart from the madness of it. I've never understood the madness of war.
Which is your thought? Covering poverty, landscapes, whatever, like antiquities, war. Which is your thought? The moment before you press the button?
One of the moments before it all depends where I am. If I'm standing in front of a bunch of dying children, like I did in Africa many years ago, hundreds of them, my thoughts are very black and very dark and very shameful. If I'm standing in front of a soldier, I know he's a human being, that he signed on to be a soldier. He signed on to kill other people. I have a son who's a soldier in England, a brother who was a soldier in Africa. So, you know, I'm constantly balancing my thoughts and I try to interpret my feelings about, is this right, is that right? And with two of my family members in military, I'm slightly in a corner with those thoughts. No, I have to balance my thoughts, really, because I've been in impossible positions where I've had to make up my mind, what am I doing? Is it morally right? Should I be doing this? And so I'm constantly attacking myself, really.
You've seen everything. What's your thoughts about human nature and humankind?
I don't trust it. I don't trust human nature. I know it's flawed with bad people. It's also flawed by amazing people. You know, I've seen a soldier one day. In the picture downstairs, there's a dying soldier, which I mentioned earlier. There is a man tending him. That man who is tending him, he's quite a big man, he was killed 2 days later. And another man who was near him, and I was lying down, almost eating dirt to avoid being killed. When this man was killed, I saw a black soldier crying. And I thought, men normally don't cry. They hide their grief. Not in the Middle East. But this was an American soldier who was quite, you know, big, strong man. But he cried over the death of that soldier. And I thought, if you mentioned that you would see beauty in war, people would think you were mad. But you do see acts of beauty. You do see moments of beauty that you couldn't imagine why it's going on at that moment.
When did you feel fear for your life?
Fear?
I guess many times.
Many times. And I'm not a religious man, but I'm a Judas. Because when I'm being shelled or I'm close to death, I think, please God, help me, give me another chance. But I've nearly died a few times, quite a few times. But you know, I wound up in a prison once in Uganda with a man called Idi Amin, who was the dictator. He was and what I would see, first of all, I arrived in the prison at night. I was arrested in my hotel. I was taken to the military prison, and the first thing I received was a really good beating. And we drove into the prison yard. I could see the soldiers drinking beer, and they put the beer down. They grabbed these huge sticks, and they were running towards the truck. And the beating was quite severe and a shock. And then I put into a cell with a group of about 4 journalists. At the cell above us, every day they killed 20 men, and we saw the bodies going in the truck every morning to the Nile, and we said to feed the crocodiles. Idi Amin was killing all his opponents, political opponents. So I thought, I'm never going to get out of this prison.
You mentioned that you want your photos to scream to people that...
I want them to be seen and heard in case one day someone said to me, I saw one of your exhibitions many years ago and I became a doctor. And I thought, my God, I couldn't ask for a bit bigger reward knowing that this person will go out and save the lives of other people who I couldn't do.
Have you ever felt that you have hated human nature and human behavior?
All the time, but I think sometimes I've had a greater hatred for myself of being there, you know. I mean, people keep celebrating my life, and it's unnecessary, really. All these buildings are funeral towers. They've all been destroyed by ISIS, which is tragic, really. This boy on the camel is escaping from me because I wouldn't give him any money. He's running away. I kind of like that boy for doing what he's doing, really. And I like camels, but they smell. And I spent 10 days in a revolution in Eritrea on a camel, and it was the most awful experience. But I think this picture is almost...
Yeah, from Sudan.
Yeah, this is in the south. It's near the River Nile. It's very beautiful. But I'll show you the still lifes.
I was amazed by the still lifes. The way you depict either the nature or the man actually creates the strongest sentiments. How do you do that?
I see things very quickly. I see things before other people see them. I know it sounds very conceited of me to say this, but it's my eyes. But it's not just about my eyes, it's about my soul. It's the way I think and the way I feel and the way I see.
Do you think that the role of photography is changing?
I think photography is changing because everybody is a photographer with their mobile phone now. And also, I think photography in general is on the way out, really. It's only like old guys like me who make these pictures and have exhibitions, but there aren't many people of my age now around practicing photography. There are lots of photographers, but whatever they do, it's not going to see the light of day because magazines and newspapers, they treat photographers like kind of slaves. They don't want to pay you. They want you to buy your ticket to some war because they don't want to insure you. It's absurd how greedy the newspaper proprietors and magazine owners are. All they're interested in is money, narcissism, footballers, and people who make a lot more money as well. They're interested in success. They're not interested in the losers who have been singled out by some nation to kill in a war.
What would be the next topic that you would cover?
My death, maybe, because I'm too old to do any more work. I'm going to go home after that. I'm tired of talking about my life, which I've been doing a lot lately to promote exhibitions and books. I'm going to go home from here, and I'm going to grow flowers in my garden, which I did last year. I grow amazing flowers in my garden.
How would you like to be remembered?
I don't care. I know, many famous photographers who I've learned from myself. They're dead and they're gone, and nobody talks about them. Okay, it doesn't really matter, really. I've left my legacy. I don't have to, search for any other reward. And within 2 or 3 years, people will even forget about this.